Morning, guys. Dr. FJ Q&A. We're gonna get going here. Got a few questions. Um, so how to get people to stick with care once they're feeling great after a few visits. Yeah, that's always a tricky one. I think progression is really important. So if you're doing the same thing every time and they're just feeling great and they're feeling great and they're feeling great, it's going to be tricky. So having re-exams and re-x-rays, people really like that. Also, just like every 2 to 4 weeks, give them some new stretches or something to do at home. And that progression lots of times will keep people engaged and keep them coming back. Or else they're going to be like, what am I doing here? He does the same thing every time. Also, potentially, if you have any kind of progression with the adjustments and the treatments you're doing, that can be very helpful as well. So maybe starting them on traction and then taking them off traction and moving them to PMF or whatever. That can be very helpful. But the doing activities, so give them some mobility exercises at home or some stretches at home. Lots of times will keep people on pace for those first 12 weeks. So just having progression to your care plan, like, okay, I know you're feeling great, but now I want you to do, deep squats at home, do 20, 20 a day, 4 days a week, and then also do whatever, some bridges or however you want to do it. And then after two, make a note of it on your card or in your system. And then after 2 weeks, okay, I want to add this to it. So having progression to your care plan will help keep people on pace. Also, you just always giving them a little bit of a care. Like, hey, we have a re-exam coming up in 2 weeks. All right, we have a re-x-ray coming up in 6 weeks. Those kind of things. And people love the re-x-rays, or if you do scans, whatever it is, having that and then just keeping people rescheduled, like the basics. We'll check you Wednesday, Friday next week. We'll check you Monday or Wednesday next week or Friday, whatever you're doing. But I would say the biggest thing to that is progression because they're gonna get bored if you're or whatnot. If they're feeling great and then they're coming in, you're doing the same thing and the same thing and the same thing, they'll be like, why am I still coming in? But if you can have progression to your care, so do a new therapy or adjust them in a little different way, and then progression to like at home stuff, really, really important. Then you're also holding them accountable. But if they're feeling great, there's gonna be less holding accountable and more just keeping them engaged. So having progression to the care plan is really nice. So, so yeah, just having that will be really, really important. And then you'll see people will stay, even when they feel great, much, much longer. And then you being objective too about the care. Like, I know you're feeling great, but we still got some tension here and we still got some swelling there. And I really want to work on that. So keeping that going objectively, and making sure that care is a lot about objective things like re-exams and re-x-rays and not just about subjective, the same way you would with someone who's still hurting. That can be really, really helpful on uh, keeping people engaged and following through, even though they feel great. So you too, being about the subluxation, you being about objective things will be really helpful, even though they're feeling great. Okay, I hope that all made sense. If you have any other questions about keeping people on pace that feel great, let me know. Easy way to go over financials when patients think they're good, but they're not. This is a tricky one, and you'll see this. I went through this years ago when I first opened. There's a lot of change, and it was a lot of teachers and state workers that were used to their insurance covering everything, and now they had a big deductible. You just have to do what you do. You just have to show the value, differentiate, go through why you're doing it all, explain it, be very upfront. Um, but also just say, hey, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. That's fine. But this is, what I think would be the ideal situation for you. So, yeah, those are tough ones. Those are tough ones when insurance changes, especially if you have like teachers or state workers like I did that for 20 years they never paid anything, and now it's like, hey, it's gonna be $1,500, 2 grand. A lot of those people you're just not gonna keep, especially if they're not their symptoms are pretty mild. But you do what you do, okay? And you'll get some of them to do it, but you just do what you do. You go through the financials the right way. You go through their X-rays the right way. You show the value, you create urgency. You explain what's going to happen if they don't go through care. All right, you see this? Yes. Can you see this, this whatever, osteophyte, just wear and tear starting to build. Yeah, well, what's happening is there's extra pressure and tension on that area causing that damage and that degeneration and decay. So if we don't do anything, what's going to happen? It's going to get worse. Yep. It's a slow process, don't be, but it's progressive. So in 5, 10 years, this is going to get worse where we can correct it now, stop that, and allow your body to heal and truly correct this. So those are just tough ones. There's no way around it. But you will get some of them. You just do what you do. You do the consult the right way. You figure out how, any chronicity, you figure out how this is affecting their quality of life. And then you cover all of that at the report, and you just go through the ideal situation and you let them know, what it's going to take to truly make change. And you see what, and then give them the option and see what they do. And you're just, you're not going to get all of them, but you will get some of them by just doing it the right way. But you can't just breeze through it like you would with someone who everything's covered, right? So with those, you have to be it's very important that you convey the value, convey what happens if they don't do care. And that's really, the benefit and the cost and going through all of that with them like you would anyone. And then you just, give them an adjustment, let them decide what they want to do. But yeah, you can't, those are tough ones when people think, especially like I'm out of network with Blue Cross, they can go to an in-network doc and lots of times it's cost nothing or it's free. And yeah, I mean, my conversion rate on those are just lower than other people. It just is what it is. So, but if they don't, if it's not covered, it's not covered. And so you got to go through and that's why just doing your consult the right way every single time, doing your report the right way every single time. And then, you'll still get a lot of them to commit and to convert. Okay. So yeah, those are tough ones, but just do what you do. And still a lot of them will commit. But you've got to take your time, figure out how it's affecting their quality of life, dig for chronicity, overcome any objections, cover, at the ROF, cover the benefit, cover the cost of not doing the penalty. If they don't do it, this is going to continue to deteriorate. And just having that, painting that picture down the road of either, yeah, where you're going to be exercising again and this and that, or not. And then differentiating yourself is really important, especially if they can go to someone else down the road where it is covered. You've got to differentiate yourself. So I still get a lot of them where they can go down the road for $10 and they come to me and they pay 95. I still do get some of those people to do it, but the conversion rate does go down. Just is what it is. So I hope that makes sense. Had another question, just someone, their long-term employee was underperforming. What do you do? Don't just go and fire someone right away. Have a very upfront talk. Candor is a lost art. And then again, state the negative just like you would with a patient if it is going to be expensive or it is going to take some time or it might hurt, whatever it is. You start with positivity like, hey, Mary, I appreciate you've been here a long time. You're doing great. You do this, this, and this for me. It takes a lot off of my plate. I appreciate that. I might sound, I want to be really upfront now, so I may sound like a jerk, but that's not my intent. I just want to, let you know that this, and that isn't happening, like it used to, or this and this and that has changed. Is everything okay? Are you, do you still want to be here? And sometimes they're looking to make a move, but they don't want to tell you. But come from it from a place of being very upfront, but very compassionate and just being like, hey, you know, do you, it seems to me because of the X, Y, and Z that you don't want to be here anymore. Is that the case? Um, and see what they say. And sometimes they'll pull a 180. Sometimes they will just say, yeah, you know what, I am looking at making a move, and and other times, if after a month they still aren't doing anything better, then you have an even more upfront conversation like, hey, Mary, this, and that has to be better, or this situation isn't going to work out anymore. And maybe they take off right away, maybe this, but at least you handled everything the right way. Um, and the situation will be better than if you don't have that upfront conversation. But again, anytime you're being very upfront, just be honest, state the negative right away. I might sound like a jerk here, or this is going to sound very, upfront, or this could be annoying, whatever. I might sound like a jerk, or I might sound like an ass, but this is, X, Y, and Z. And then so many times, just like if you go, this does, if you're, decompression does increase cost a lot, but it helps for this, and that, and this is what it would be. And then it makes it's so much easier And you give them the out. Are you looking to make a move? Is this no longer the best fit for you? And just having that upfront conversation, and it's just everyone leaves a little bit happier, a little more upfront when you have the courage to just have those very upfront conversations. Had another one about care plans, doing large care plans, but then they can't afford it. And for me, it's the same with all care plans. You go through the ideal, like say you're doing decompression and they just can't do the 5 grand or the 4 grand. Well, some's better than nothing, right? All right, well, and then I may do a regular chiropractic for them. I just tell them, hey, it's going to take longer. So as long as they know that up front, it's fine. And they still, a lot of them will commit to care for the less amount or whatever, and we'll still do something. I lots of times spent money to get them in my door. I'm not going to just kick them out of my door. Or some people are like, I don't want upper cervical, I don't want that nuka, I just want to, I want this. Okay, and I'll do it. And I'm not going to, it's $50. It takes me 90 seconds. Like, all right, let's do 2, 3 times a week. See where we're at in a month's time. If you're getting great results, I'm happy to do it, and let's go from there. And my staff like it because they're in and out of the parking lot in like 12, 15 minutes. They're not doing any therapies. Um, And so I'm a big per visit guy. I always have been, in a small town doing larger plans. It gives me the out where I can maintain that relationship. They can get a couple adjustments. And again, I'm always focused on the relationship first, transaction second. And you'll get more transactions when you do it that way. Um, and obviously the relationships will build, those build your business. You'll get more referrals, more reacts. I just had a guy came in 5 years ago, got one adjustment. He just came in and committed to care, did a plan. We maintained the relationship, kept a positive, taste in the mouth or whatever, positive, experience. And now he's a better place financially. He commits to care. Great. And we move forward from there. Last thing that's helped, I had a question about staffing. Since COVID, obviously, the requirements to pay someone is enormous and it's hard everywhere. But if you're in an expensive market, it can be tricky. I found high schoolers are a great option. It's short term, but if you can get someone for a couple of years, and you can not a lot of times get someone who's very smart, good with technology, for much less. So like I do 16 an hour and I have a couple part-time high schoolers that pop in and they change. And in the summers, if we're real busy, we can bring them on more. If it's a slower time, spring break, and everyone's off, they don't come in at all. They're not feeding their family. Just you can lots of times get a high quality person for a lot less. And it's nice. You can really mix with their hours and it's just easier. And it's just gonna be a year or two or whatever, and they know it is. And then in the school year, lots of times whatever they come in the afternoons, and it's that kind of 3 to 6, 6:37, where it's a lot of times hard to find full timers with kids to do that, and a high schooler will do it no problem, and it works great for them. They pop in at 3:30 and they leave at 7 or 6:30 or whatever your hours are. So that has been a really nice option where I'm getting quality, not having to spend so much right now. It's like people want what even in West Bend, Wisconsin, people want 24, 25 an hour to do anything, where you can get a high schooler for a lot less who's intelligent and can do a great job. So those are all the questions. Did all that make sense? And then Dr. Scott, Dr. Jeff, did you guys have any questions specifically that we didn't cover? If not, no worries.
Can you hear me,
Hey,
Dr.
Dr.
F?
Jeff. Yep, yep.
Uh, just a quick question. It's a tough one. It's maybe not a fair question, but I'll ask it. Knowing what you know now, with you've had the Cox tables for a while, you've had the decompression tables for a while.
Yep.
If you're in a position only to pick one of those, with the
Which one?
majority of folks, what would you say?
That's a good question. I would, so it's a
Because
very,
it gets complicated.
yeah,
Um,
no, but I would go doc. I would go decompression because it's going to cost about the same,
yeah,
even a little bit less if you're doing Cox brand new. And I find you can really, for revenue purposes, you can just really say, you can do it. The problem with that is if you're going to lose it a lot, people are on it for 20 minutes. If you can only have one, it's going to be very limited on how many
yeah,
people can
yeah.
do it. But I love it. My patients, the results are really, really good, and it does generate a lot more revenue for the cock than the cocks. Now I love having both
Yeah.
because I have had people to say that I did dock, they weren't responding, then I put them in the cocks and they responded well. So I have had that. But if I could only pick one and only do one for the cost and the business side of things, I would do the dock because it's 16 grand, or at least it was last time I got one. And you can really do some nice care plans. The results are great. I don't have my staff sets them up on it, takes them off, requires none of my time. If it's cash only and there's no insurance involved, lots of times I have people come in, just do the doc and leave, so they don't even have to see me or my associate. So that's really nice. So yeah, if I could only do one, I would. Now, having said that, I love having both, but I would do the doc if I could only do one.
All right, perfect. No, all set. Thanks, Dr. FJ.
Yeah, you got it, Jeff.
Appreciate it.
And then Dr. Scott, were you able to hear the answers to those questions? Did that all make sense? If I can answer anything more complete, let me know. If not, I'm gonna just hop off here. And Scott, it's just you and me now. I mean, you can unmute if you want. If not, I mean, with just to review what I don't know if you heard everything when you were in the waiting room. With patients who are getting better, really quickly, progression in your care is going to be super important. So either changing the therapies that are getting done or changing like at-home activities, like giving them a few mobility exercises. Like I want you to do a deep squat, up dog, down dog. And then every like 2 weeks or so, adding to that or changing it will help people stay on pace. And then just being very objective, not just subjective, like, hey, there's reduced range of motion here. There's still some swelling in here, so I want to make sure we're improving that. I know you're feeling great, and that's awesome, and I'm really happy about it, but I want to make sure. So let's check you Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we'll do a re-exam, and we'll see where we're at with those things. So being objective about it and having re-exams, checkpoints along the way, checkpoints, progression, people love that. And then the re-x-rays at the end or whatever you do, scans, or if you're doing none of that, just re-exams the whole time with progression of care. So checkpoints and progression of care really helps keep those people on pace. And then with people that think their insurance is covered, you just got to do what you do. You show the value, you differentiate, you cover the benefits of it, you cover the cost of not doing it and the penalties down the road of degeneration and disc disease and yada, yada, yada. And you just do. But if you just went through something where a certain type, like teachers or state workers have had coverage for years and they don't have it, those are always tough cases. But you'll see a lot of those people after a few years of the insurance not coming back, they'll come in and they'll do a plan and it'll be great. Now, if you're like, I'm out of network Blue Cross, there's a few older docs that closed their network like 17 years ago. And so they can go to an in-network doc and it'll be cost them way, way less. With those patients, you've got to differentiate. That's kind of like, don't be the best, be the only. In their mind, you have to make it where you're the only one that can do what they need essentially. So your internal marketing and education on that is really important because I will get those people where it's literally like $10 if they go down the road and they'll pay me, 95. But definitely the conversion rates with those people are not the same. It goes down, but I still get people to do it. Does that all make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, not really.
Okay. So cool. Well, let me know how that goes with you. And but yeah, progression of care and checkpoints for those people that are feeling great will be huge. And you'll see they'll stay longer and longer with you doing that. All right,
Okay.
man. Well, we have a great month.
You too. Thanks a lot.
You got it. Keep charging. Thanks, Kat. Have a great one.